Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Building a Nation with Team Canada. And today we've got a little bit of a different episode. It has to be a little bit of an explanation video, because you're going to see some things in the upcoming videos that might not make a little sense, and I want to explain it before we get to Monday's video. So basically, well, to start off with, you may have noticed, I know some of you did notice, that last video we were missing a game at the end of that video, and I found that game, and here it is, LA Galaxy versus Vancouver Whitecaps. But before we actually get down to talking about today's game, I wanted to mention that the reason that game disappeared and the reason some of the videos may have seemed a little odd is because I had to show them out of order. I wanted to show that Gold Cup run for Team Canada as one single event, you know, 1 week versus of videos worth of videos for that entire run, so that it seemed like a cohesive thing, because in reality there was a couple of months of MLS in between the group stage of the Gold Cup and the quarterfinals, and I'd recorded some videos in there. But I showed them out of order, as I mentioned, to get the Gold Cup out of the way. But now going back to some of those MLS Vancouver videos, I'll be honest and say I wasn't really happy with the quality of them. They just, had some technical mix-ups, like this one here, missing the game. And just honestly, my enthusiasm for those videos weren't there for whatever reason. I was listening to them and I sounded like I was half asleep, and I could hardly make it through those videos myself. So basically, I don't want to put those videos out on the channel. I just think they're of such poor quality that it might turn people off. Like if somebody saw those videos as the first videos on my channel, they would just be like, this guy's horrible. I don't want to watch any of this garbage. And in reality, looking back through them, they're just kind of filler for Vancouver. And this series isn't supposed to be just about Vancouver. It's supposed to be the whole nation, and so they just weren't important. So not only weren't they any good, they just weren't important at all. So I'm gonna cut them out. Basically, I'm not gonna show them. So Monday, what you're going to see is a time jump. You're going to see a jump forward to the mid-season of MLS. So we might get a little bit of redundancy because as I filmed the videos, it was, Vancouver and then Gold Cup and then this second round of Vancouver games. So I go over some stuff in like the last video that you saw for Vancouver when I went over sort of the youth and the development and stuff like that. We're going to go over that again on Monday, but it'll just be a couple of months in advance so you can see how the players are progressing, I guess. So it's good on that point, on that front. But on the other front is, you just saw this on, what was it, Wednesday, I guess, or Thursday? Whatever the last video was you saw, probably Wednesday. We did a little youth update there, and we'll do it again on Monday. But, it is what it is. It is, again, that timey-wimey time jump stuff. So that is that, and now I guess we could sort of take a look at this game. I don't think there's anything else I really want to talk about in regards to that. There wasn't really anything big or dramatic. It was just I didn't like the videos. They were out of order to begin with, so might as well just cut them out. So yeah, let's take a look at where the team is at right now. This team that you're seeing on the field here is a bit of a rotated side. We've had, obviously Gold Cup. We've had other MLS fixtures. So we've had to put in some different players, and we'll take a look at those guys, I guess, right now. So as you can see, we've got some interesting players in the lineup right now. We've got McMath in goal, of course, Zlatkovic, Godoy, Berg, and Nowinski on defense. Now, those are 5 interesting players because 2 of them, McMath and Nowinski, are Americans who I think can play for Team Canada. Neither one of them are capped. Neither one of them are likely to get capped There are a lot of good young American goalkeepers who I think have surpassed McMath, but he is by far, if he were a Canadian, he would be the second best Canadian goalkeeper by far, and he's younger than our current international goalkeeper. So if we can sign McMath, that would be great for this team. It's almost indispensable that we sign McMath to the nation. And then Nerwinski also as a right back, he's almost as good as the right backs we're using right now for Team Canada, but he's much younger. He's only 23 or 24 years old. He's been with the team already for 3 years because he was with the team prior. He was drafted by the prior administration. So he can get his Canadian citizenship right now, and in 2 years, he'll be eligible to play for Team Canada. So I think that will be an important piece as well. And then Godoy, he's one of our best players, but he's already internationally capped, so we haven't been using him. He's out on loan anyway. I don't particularly like loan players. So Godoy is probably going to go at the end of the year, if not sooner. And then, of course, Zlatkovic and Berg are two young Canadians. Zlatkovic right now is showing the most potential of any of the academy players. He's getting better week by week. He's playing in the lineups. He's getting a lot of time at fullback. He's got the physicality that we like. And, if he continues this trend of great training, he could be our best player from this class of academy players. And then Berg is a little older than Zlatkovic. I think he's 19 or 20. We need to get him playing time. But I don't know in our current rotation of defense if he's going to get in there. He's just not quite good enough to play at MLS level as a starter. But we need to get him game time, so it's kind of a catch-22. We'll figure something out for Berg. And as I look around at other youngsters in Canada, we just don't have a lot of central defenders. So Berg is actually a pretty important player in terms of the nation because we just don't have a lot of players, period, especially young players, playing central defense. Then in the midfield, we got Swesta and Tibert. Swesta's a young international player who's good, but I don't know that he's got any relevance to Team Canada. Tibert is a Team Canada player, but I didn't call him up for this latest Gold Cup run for a couple of reasons. One, Vancouver is very thin in the midfield, so we couldn't really lose him. If we lost him, we would have almost nobody left in the midfield to play. So we couldn't really do that, but also I wanted to bring in some older, more experienced players to play for Team Canada for this Gold Cup run, just because it was going to be their last run at anything significant. So I wanted to get some of those guys in there, and basically they took Tibert's spot. So it's kind of a win-win situation there. And then in attack, we have Tolosa, Reyna, Venuto. Reyna is our best player, but he's also internationally capped. We've got a young Canadian that we want to play at his position, so Reyna isn't long for this team either. Now there on the screen, you just saw Hamilton score a goal. And Hamilton's an interesting guy. He's a guy who's sort of an edge player when it comes to Team Canada. But we brought him in this season, and he's playing pretty well for us. You can see this goal that he got right here. Actually, Zlatkovic, the young fullback, out on the wing, wide open. Great cross. And there it is to Hamilton on the doorstep. And that's what Hamilton can do. He can get in front of goal, he can muck things up, and he can score some goals. So, he's got some potential. And he could make some noise for Team Canada, but he's really a 50-50 kind of guy. Is 50-50 he could be a good player, or 50% he could never see Team Canada duty ever again. So, these are some important years for him coming up. As for the two wide players, Tolosa and Venuto, they're interesting guys because they're both young internationals. I think one's Brazilian and one's Colombian, but they're not capped for their national teams at all at any level. So there's some guys that we'll keep around on the team, hoping they get their Canadian citizenship, and maybe they'll come and play for Team Canada at some point, because they both have speed and ability, and they can give us some good depth out on those wings. But if they don't if they do get capped for their national team, or for whatever reason they don't want to play for Team Canada or get their Canadian citizenship, what have you, we're not necessarily relying on these guys. And here we go. Looks like we're about to make a substitution here. About to bring in Raheem Edwards. And this sort of brings up the problem with playing those young international wingers, is we do have some young Canadian wingers that we also have to get playing time to, most notably Raheem Edwards. And, you know, this is sort of a problem nationwide that we have, is currently our Canadian crop of players who are like between the ages of 21 and 23, they're just not good enough right now to play for the national team, but they're also not getting a ton of playing time and a ton of experience. So it seems like we're going to have a little bit of a down, what's the reverse of a golden generation? I don't know, a bronze generation of players from 21 to 23. So we got to figure something out for those guys and for that generation. That's where, you know, bringing in some of the international players might help, but then at the other, you know, on the other side of the coin, it might also hurt those players. So I'm going to have to balance that within Vancouver and, you know, spread these guys around, make sure they're getting playing time wherever they're going, whether it's out on loan or on trades or whatever. We got to find something to fill the gap of that age group, that age bracket of 21 to 23. Because I think 20 and under, we got a decent crop of players. Definitely, you know, 17 and under. I think we're looking pretty good. That brings us to, you know, one of our next big competitions coming up is going to be the Olympic qualifying trials. So this is where we're going to really have to put to a test that group of players who are between, you know, 18 and 22, I guess. So some of the players that we're talking about here, those that, you know, 21 and up age group, some of those guys are going to be tested in this Olympic qualifying, and we're going to see how good they are. Now, we know that some of our best players in the nation are like 19 and 20 years old. So I think that's going to give us a pretty strong group to play in this Olympic qualifying, and hopefully in the Olympics as well. I think, you know, that's the problem playing in North America, is you don't really get a great sense of how the rest of the world is. Like, you know, we can't just play in Europe and play against, you know, the Belgiums and the Germanys and stuff like that. You know, really, the only people we have to really test ourselves against are the likes of Mexico and Costa Rica. And other than that, everybody else is either at our level or below. I mean, I guess USA. I'm including USA in there with Canada, I guess. But yeah, from a strictly Canadian point of view, we know we have to be better than USA, but we know USA is not as good as a lot of teams in Europe. So really, the only benchmark we have is Mexico, and then maybe we can get some games against Brazil and stuff like that. But I've rattled on for too long, so we're going to end the video here, and we'll come back next time. Till then, see you later. Bye-bye.